Hello, students and learners. As you know, under the 4-year undergraduate course, the syllabus has completely changed. In place of 3-year degree course, now there is 4-year degree course. In the 4-year degree course, Indian classical literature is prescribed in major course 1 and minor course 1 in the first semester. For those students who study or who will study English honors in the major subject and in minor subjects other than English. Students of other subjects than English. I therefore would like to talk about the Indian classical literature. I shall talk about the Indian classical literature because this is prescribed in the major course 1 semester 1 for English honors students or those students who will study English as their major subject. First of all, let me make it clear what a classical literature refers to. A classical literature refers to a literature of any time or any period, of any place, of any language which has elevated language, fine expression, beautiful phraseology dealing with important aspects of life. Such a literature, such a kind of literature is characterized as classical literature. So far as the Indian classical literature is concerned, the Indian classical literature divides itself into 3 major categories, 3 broad categories. What are these 3 broad categories or major categories? The first major category is the Vedic Age or the Vedic Period. The Vedic period dates from c. 1500 to c. 200 century. The Vedic period literature includes Upanishads, and the Vedas are the major Indian classical literature. The Vedic Age deals with religious matters, religious themes, and they have significant aspects of life. Then we have beautiful commentaries on the Vedas in the Brahmanas, the Arjanyaks, and the Upanishads. We find epic poetry and wisdom literature and poetry in a style called Kavya. Oldest of the Vedas is the Rig Veda. The knowledge of the verses. This book, which is termed as the Rig Veda, is supposed to be written about 1500 BC. The second form, the second part of the Veda is Yajurveda, knowledge of the sacrifice. This form of Veda is written about 1200 BC. The third kind of Veda is Sam Veda, knowledge of the chants. This Veda comes about 1100 BC. The fourth and the final kind of Veda is Atharva Veda, knowledge of the fire priest. This Atharva Veda was written in about 1200 BC. So, the Vedic age deals with these four kinds of Vedas that I talked about, such as Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and Atharva Veda. After the Vedic period or after the Vedic age, we have epic period. The epic period is also very significant and very important. The epic period dates back from c. 400 to c. or AD 400. The epic literature includes the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Ramayana. The Bhagavad Gita is a very important Indian classical literature. All the students are supposed to study the English translation of the Mahabharata. This book, the Mahabharata, is a voluminous book. It is an epic. It deals with the lives of the Kauravas and Pandavas and the battles that takes place between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. It is a very significant book which has got much religious significance in the life of the people across the world. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata, we have the Gita. The Gita forms a very important part of a study for the students and for the people all over the world. In the Gita, Lord Krishna teaches Arjun, his disciple, about the actions, about the karmas. As a matter of fact, Gita is a teaching of Lord Krishna, not only meant for Arjun, but also for all the people on the earth. So, in the epic period, we have the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Ramayana. They are the great epics of Indian classical literature. Students are supposed to study or to have a good knowledge, a sound knowledge of the Mahabharata, of the Gita, and the Ramayana. Later, we move to the Sanskrit classical period. The Sanskrit classical literature comes AD 200 and afterwards. During this period, Kalidas was a great poet and dramatist. Kalidas became a great poet. He is said to be the Shakespeare of India. There are many stories which are very popular about the life of Kalidas. I shall talk about the life of Kalidas when I shall teach one of his works prescribed for the students. The name of the book is Abhigyan Sakuntalam. The students have to study Abhigyan Sakuntalam by Kalidas. Kalidas wrote many books. Some of them are short poems and some of them are long narrative poems. His major works include Kumar Sambhavam, Abhigyan Sakuntalam, Raghu Vansam, मेघदूतम, विक्रम उर्वशी, उर्वशी, and many others. Another great poet of this period is Banbhat. Banbhat was also a great Indian classical author, Indian classical writer. Banbhat wrote Harsh Charitram, deeds of King Harsh. Banbhat was a court poet. He has spent most of his life in the court of King Harsh. Banbhat also wrote Kadambari, which is a very popular book, and Kadambari is prescribed for the students of 4-year degree course. Banbhat died before finishing Kadambari. It is said that it was his son Bhushan Bhatt who completed Kadambari later. In this way, Indian classical literature covers 3 important periods. To sum up, these periods include the Vedic period or the Vedic age, the Epic period or the Epic age, and the great Sanskrit classical literature. I shall talk about the individual literature in my next class. Thanks.